The night was quiet in the orbiting research station Helios 9. It moved slowly above the dark side of Saturn, surrounded by silence and the pale glow of the planet's rings. Inside, computers hummed and lights blinked. Keeping rhythm with the endless void, Dr. Alara Voss sat alone in the communications lab, her eyes fixed on a screen filled with static. She had been listening for signals from deep space for months, hoping to find something that wasn't human, something unknown. Most nights gave her nothing but noise, but tonight felt different. A soft pulse appeared on the monitor. One single spike in the waveline, then another, steady and calm like a heartbeat. Alara frowned. She turned the controls and checked the frequencies. It wasn't a radio wave, not a human transmission. It was repeating every 7 seconds, with a pattern that seemed deliberate. She leaned closer. "That's not random," she whispered. Her partner technician Mason Holt entered the lab, carrying a mug of coffee. "Still chasing ghosts?" he asked, with a tired grin. She didn't reply. He saw the strange pattern on the screen and his smile faded. "What is that?" "I don't know," Alara said quietly. "It's coming from beyond Titan's orbit, but the source isn't moving like a ship. It's just watching." Mason's brow tightened. "You think it's another probe?" "Maybe. Or maybe something else." They ran the signal through filters, decoding systems, anything that might reveal its nature. After an hour, the static shifted. The computer began forming symbols, unlike any human language. Curved lines, repeating circles, then a sudden flash of light across the waveform. The station's main lights flickered. "Power drop," Mason said, checking the console. "That shouldn't happen." Then the pulse changed tone, almost like a voice humming through metal walls. The room felt colder. Alara adjusted her headset. "It's modulating. It's trying to communicate. Communicate." "How do you know that?" She hesitated. "Because it stopped sending random intervals after we responded. It's reacting to us." Mason stared at her. "Alara, we're not equipped for first contact. Maybe we don't have a choice." She typed a short response, signal 3 short beeps. Like Morse code for "we hear you." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the system answered. The same 3 beeps returned, but slower, heavier, vibrating through the hull of the station like a living thing breathing back at them. The entire lab shuddered. Loose tools rattled. Somewhere deep inside the structure, a soft echo repeated itself, almost whispering in rhythm with the pulse. Alara felt her chest tighten. The signal wasn't just data carried emotion, like an echo of thought. She felt sadness, or curiosity, or both. She looked at Mason. "It feels alive." Mason shook his head. "That's impossible." But the sound kept growing, turning into a low hum that filled every corner of Helios 9. Alarms flashed briefly, then died. The main screen changed again, showing a swirl of lights forming what looked like a map, thousands of dots surrounding Earth. The two stared, realizing the signal wasn't aimed at them. It was part of something much larger. "It's observing Earth," Alara whispered. "It's studying us." Mason swallowed hard. "Then why respond to you?" Before she could answer, the image disappeared. The signal cut off instantly, leaving silence so deep it hurt the ears. The lights returned to normal. The hum was gone. Only the slow ticking of the control panels remained. Alara replayed the recording. Nothing, no trace of the pattern, no pulse, no voice. It was as if it had never existed. The station commander, Colonel Reeves, arrived after receiving the power alert. "Report," he demanded. Mason tried to explain, but Alara interrupted, showing the empty screen. "We had contact," she said. "It was intelligent." Reeves frowned. "You mean interference?" "Cosmic radiation does that." "Sure," she said carefully. "Radiation doesn't mimic human transmission patterns. And it doesn't stop the moment we respond." Reeves glanced at the blank monitor. "Until you have proof, it's interference. Log it and stand down." He left. Mason sighed. "You know he won't believe it." Alara stared at the dark window where Saturn's rings glimmered faintly. "They'll believe it when it comes back," she said softly. That night, sleep didn't come easily. In her cabin, the silence seemed alive. She lay on her bunk, staring at the ceiling, replaying the sound in her mind. A soft pulse. A heartbeat. And then, just as her eyes began to close, she heard something faint, a whisper through her cum unit. She froze. It was a voice, broken and distant, speaking her name. Ilara. She sat up fast, checking the console. The screen showed no signal, no call, nothing. The voice repeated, quieter this time. Ilara, why do you watch the stars? Her throat went dry. She didn't answer. The whisper faded, replaced by silence. She checked the logs. No record. But her heart was pounding, the same rhythm as the signal. In the morning, Mason looked pale. I had a dream, he said quietly. Something was talking to me. I think it was that signal. Ilara stared. What did it say? He hesitated. It asked what it means to be human. Before she could reply, an alarm blared across the station. The sensors had picked up a massive object beyond Titan moving fast. Straight toward Earth. The same frequency pulse echoed faintly behind it, like a heartbeat following a body. Is that a ship? Mason asked. Ilara watched the data flood across her screen. No known propulsion. No heat signature. It's not a ship. It's something else. The commander's voice came through the speaker. Urgent. All personnel to observation. We have an incoming anomaly. They rushed to the viewing deck. Outside, the stars looked normal at first. Then one of them moved a small glowing sphere, drifting toward the inner solar system, growing brighter with each second. It was beautiful and terrifying, like a piece of the sun breaking free. Mason whispered, It's coming here. Ilara felt the same pulse echo in her chest, perfectly matched with the light. For a brief second, she felt something like someone looking through her eyes, seeing what she saw, feeling what she felt. A strange warmth, a strange sadness. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the light blinked out. Gone. Silence returned. The screens went black for 3 full seconds. Then a single message appeared, written in English letters. We watch. We learn. The room fell completely still. The commander looked around, but no one spoke. Ilara stepped closer, reading the words again, her heart racing. The signal had vanished into the void once more, leaving behind only mystery and fear. But deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. Whatever was out there had found them first, and it wasn't done watching. The following night, the Helios 9 station drifted silently above Saturn's rings. The crew spoke little, each person haunted by the same thought the signal had spoken to them, but no one dared admit it aloud. The message, we watch, we learn, still burned in their minds, repeating like a silent echo. Dr. Ilara Voss sat in the dark communications lab again. The monitors dimmed to half brightness. She hadn't slept since the signal vanished. Her reflection looked pale in the glass. Every sound in the room, the hum of the air filters, the low buzz of the power core felt louder than usual. She couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen was listening. She opened her logs, checking again. There was no trace of the transmission. Yet the pattern still played in her mind. Pulse, pause, pulse. It felt almost like breathing. She tapped her fingers on the console, matching the rhythm. What are you? She whispered into the dark. Behind her, Mason entered quietly. You're still at it. Ilara didn't turn. It's not gone. Mason sighed and leaned against the wall. The commander wants us to stop all deep signal scans. Says it's messing with the system diagnostics. Of course he does, Ilara said softly. He's scared. So am I, Mason muttered. I heard it again last night. In my dreams, same voice. Asking the same question? Ilara turned to face him. What does it want? He hesitated, it said. It doesn't understand why we care. She froze. Why we care? Mason nodded slowly. It said humans are strange. We suffer, we fight, but we still protect each other. It said it can't understand why pain doesn't stop us. Ilara looked down at the controls, deep in thought. Then it's studying emotion. Mason frowned. How can something without a body understand emotion? Ilara's voice dropped to a whisper. by feeling it. Before he could reply, the station lights flickered again. The temperature dropped a few degrees, and every monitor displayed static for a brief moment. Then the static cleared, revealing live footage Earth, seen from above. Clouds swirled, continents glowed faintly. But this wasn't a regular satellite feed. The view shifted rapidly, focusing on cities, people, faces. The system was showing them things it shouldn't have access to. "What the hell is this?" Mason said, his voice trembling. Ilara stared at the screen. "It's them. They're showing us what they see." The images sped up wars, hospitals, a mother holding her child, strangers helping each other during floods, firemen running into burning buildings. Then it froze on one image. A little girl smiling at the sky. The same pulse sound returned, deep and soft, almost like a sigh. A voice came through the speakers, not human, but clear. Observation continues. Humanity imbalanced. Destructive, yet compassionate. Lara stepped closer to the screen. "Who are you?" she asked. "Observers," the voice replied. It was strange, neither male nor female, echoing as if spoken by thousands at once. "We seek to understand. We cannot define your kind." "What do you mean?" Alara asked. "Your actions conflict. You destroy what you love. You create what you fear." "Explain." Alara hesitated. "We're not perfect. We make mistakes. But we try to do better." The voice fell silent for a moment. "Trying, attempting, why not stop?" Mason whispered, "Because that's what makes us human." The room filled with low vibrations. The monitors began to shake. A deep hum rolled through the metal floors. Then suddenly, the feed vanished again. The systems rebooted. All data deleted. The voice was gone. The commander rushed in, shouting, "What did you do?" Power just spiked across the grid. Alara turned to him. "It wasn't us, sir." They made contact again. They're watching humanity. Reeves slammed his fist on the console. "Enough. You're letting this thing get in your head. We'll report interference to mission control and shut the lab down." He turned to leave, but Alara called out, "Sir, what if they're not enemies? What if they're trying to understand us?" Reeves didn't stop walking. "If something's watching us from space, Doctor, we don't wait to understand it. We prepare for it." He left them standing in the silence. That night, the entire crew of Helios Z9 experienced strange dreams. They saw flashes of light, oceans burning, people crying, and then a single phrase repeated over and over, "Show us why you survive." Ilara woke up gasping for air. Her cabin was cold, and the sound of the pulse returned soft, steady, familiar. She rushed to the communication lab. Mason was already there, pale and shaking. "They're back," he said. The monitors came to life again. A new image appeared, a map of Earth, with thousands of glowing points scattered across it. The dots pulsed like tiny hearts. "They're tracking human emotion," Alara whispered. "Each pulse. A person feeling something strong." Mason looked at her. "How can you know that?" "Because," she said, her eyes wide, "the strongest signal is coming from us." Suddenly, the signal intensified. Every light on the station flickered violently. The hum grew into a roar. Ilara covered her ears. A single word filled the speakers, louder than before. "Prepare," and everything stopped. Silence. Darkness. Only the faint hum of Saturn below remained. When the power returned, a new message flashed on the screen. "Test begins." Ilara and Mason looked at each other, their faces pale. They didn't know what kind of test the aliens meant or what would happen next. But one thing was certain. Humanity was no longer just being watched. They had just become the experiment. The message "Test begins" stayed on the screen for several seconds, before disappearing into black. Everyone in Helios 9 stood frozen. The air felt heavier, charged with quiet dread. No one moved until Commander Reeves broke the silence. "Lock down the comms lab," he ordered. "Whatever this thing is, we cut all transmissions. No more scans, no responses, nothing." But Alara couldn't look away from the blank screen. "Sir," she said quietly, "it's not waiting for our permission." As if answering her, the lights dimmed across the station again. The air shimmered faintly, like heat waves inside the room. Mason stepped back. "You see that?" Before anyone could reply, the station's glass window turned opaque, and a projection began to form on its surface, a moving image of a city. Cars, buildings, people walking, all glowing faintly like holograms. It looked like Earth, but something felt wrong. The sky was too pale, the faces too blank. The people moved with strange slowness, as if they were imitations. Reeves frowned. "What are we looking at?" Alara whispered. "A simulation. They're recreating us." The holographic scene zoomed in on a marketplace. A woman tripped. A stranger helped her up. Then, in the same instant, chaos people began to argue, fight, steal food from stalls. The image shifted again, showing soldiers in battle, a family hiding, a child offering water to a wounded man. The entire sequence looped: kindness, destruction, love, pain over and over. A voice filled the room, calm and distant. Observation active. Testing empathy. Testing fear. Testing survival. Reeves slammed his hand on the console. "End this transmission now." The voice ignored him. "Human behavior unstable. Strength within weakness. Contradiction persists." Lara stepped closer to the glass. "You don't understand," she said softly. "You can't just copy us. You have to feel it." The hologram flickered, and suddenly one of the figures inside, the woman who had tripped, turned her head. She looked directly at Lara. Mason gasped. "Did that thing just look at you?" The woman's lips moved, but the voice came from every speaker at once. Show us why you survive." The air inside the lab vibrated. The holographic city began to distort, buildings twisting like smoke. Then the image collapsed into darkness, leaving only a low pulse. Moments later, the station's systems began to fail. Navigation, life support, gravity stabilizers. Alarms screamed through every corridor. The crew scrambled as tools floated into the air. Reeves shouted orders, but his voice was drowned by the blaring sirens. Ilara clung to a console, shouting to Mason, "They're testing us through chaos." "What kind of test kills us?" He yelled back. "The kind that measures reaction," she said. "They want to see what we do when everything falls apart." For the next few minutes, the crew fought to stabilize the systems. Mason managed to restore partial gravity, slamming against the floor with a painful thud. Sparks burst from a control panel. One crew member screamed her arm had been burned by a sudden electric surge. Alara rushed to her, mooring fabric from her own sleeve to wrap the wound. Mason saw it, the compassion, even in danger. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the alarms went silent. The lights steadied. Everything stopped. A new image appeared on the monitor. The same holographic city, again but now frozen mid-chaos. Above it, alien symbols glowed in a slow rhythm. Then they rearranged into English words. "You help, WHY." Alara stared at it, breathing hard. "Because she needed help," she whispered. The reply came instantly. "Risk not logical." She shook her head. "Logic doesn't save lives. Choice does." The lights flickered. For a moment, she thought the aliens were gone. But then the projection changed again, now showing the Earth from space, surrounded by faint, glowing networks of energy. Each light pulsed like a heartbeat. Mason whispered, "They're still watching everyone." Ilara nodded slowly. "And they're learning faster than we thought." On Earth, strange events began to occur. Reports flooded mission control, power grids flickering, satellites showing ghost images, people having identical dreams of eyes in the sky. The alien test had spread beyond the station. Days passed in uneasy silence. Communication with Earth became unstable. Reeves ordered radio blackout, but Alara kept a small private channel open, secretly recording data from the signal. What she saw terrified her. The signal wasn't random anymore. It carried patterns, human brainwave frequencies. The aliens weren't just watching humanity. They were copying it. Late one night, Ilara sat alone again in the lab, staring at the data. Mason entered quietly. Still nothing? She shook her head. No, but I think I understand what they're doing. Sat beside her. Tell me. They've created a mere world, she said. A version of Earth, where they test what it means to be human. Every emotion we feel, every choice we make, they're studying it. Maybe even reliving it. Mason frowned. But why? Because they don't understand what keeps us going, she said softly. They want to know what's inside us that never gives up. Before Mason could respond, the lights went red. Emergency alarms blared again, but this time it wasn't a system failure. A massive object had entered near Earth. Orbit visible even from the station, the sensors displayed a shape like a dark sphere, surrounded by rings of light. The same alien pulse echoed through every channel. Reeves' voice crackled over the comms. It's here. Whatever's been watching us sits right above Earth. Lara and Mason stared out the window as the sphere turned, revealing a smooth black surface. Then, across its front, glowing white symbols formed a single, haunting phrase. The test continues. The entire planet below began to flicker with light, as if every city, every human emotion was being scanned all at once. Mason whispered to Lara, "What if we fail?" She didn't answer. Her heart pounded with the rhythm of the alien pulse. Somewhere deep inside, she felt it again, that same strange presence inside her mind. Curious, searching, watching, and for the first time. She wondered if humanity's greatest strength, their emotions, might also be their greatest danger. The world was no longer the same. 3 days had passed since the appearance of the dark sphere above Earth. It hovered in silence, motionless, blocking part of the sun. People across the planet watched it with fear and awe. Governments sent messages, warnings, even threats, but the sphere never answered. It simply stayed there, glowing faintly like a living eye in the sky. On the Helios Nine station, communication with Earth was patchy. News reports came through in broken fragments, riots, prayers, lights appearing in the sky. Humanity was panicking. Yet inside the chaos, strange acts of kindness began to appear. People helped strangers escape danger. Soldiers rescued civilians they'd never met. It was as if the presence of something greater had forced the world to remember its humanity. Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the main viewport, staring at the dark sphere. Its surface shifted slowly, like black liquid moving under invisible winds. Mason joined her. His eyes were tired, his face pale. "Cities are losing power," he said quietly. "It's spreading. Every major grid on Earth, they're testing how we react." Ilara nodded. "They're pushing us to our limits." The commander, Reeves, walked in, his voice sharp and angry. "Mission control's gone silent. We've lost all contact. We're alone up here." "We were never alone," Ilara said, her gaze fixed on the sphere. Reeves slammed his hand against the control panel. "Enough of that alien nonsense. We need a plan. If they're attacking, we fight back." Mason looked up, startled. "Fight back? Against that? You can't shoot something you don't understand?" Reeves glared at him. "Then what do you suggest? Sit here and wait for them to decide if we deserve to live?" Ilara turned to him. "Sir, that's exactly what we have to do. They're not trying to kill us. They're studying us. Maybe even hoping to learn something." "Learn what?" Reeves shouted. Ilara's voice was calm. "What it means to be human." Before Reeves could respond, the ship shook violently. Lights flickered red. Outside the window, beams of faint light reached from the sphere toward the planet's surface. Energy surge. Mason yelled. "They're doing something to the atmosphere." Ilara leaned forward. "No, they're not destroying. They're copying, look," on one of the side screens. The sensors displayed a strange reading. Earth's atmosphere was reflecting the energy, bouncing it back. The lights from below grew brighter, forming patterns across the continents. It looked almost like a heartbeat. Reeves' tone softened slightly. "What is that?" "It's people," Ilara whispered. "They're reacting to it. Every act of hope, every emotion, it's responding to them. Like it's connected." Down on Earth, the chaos reached its peak. Power grids failed completely. Darkness covered cities. But even in the shadows, humanity did not fall apart. Families gathered around candles. Neighbors shared food. Strangers helped carry the wounded. Someone played a guitar in a ruined street. People sang. The alien test was unfolding, and humanity was answering in its own way. Then, something unexpected happened. One of the screens in the Helios 9 lab flickered to life. It was a live transmission from a city in ruins. A soldier was dragging a small boy out from under debris. Blood covered his uniform. His arm looked broken, but he didn't stop. The child was crying, clutching a torn photo. Ilara and Mason watched in silence. The alien voice returned. Low and echoing. Observation continues. Purpose of pain unknown. Yet protection persists. The camera zoomed in as the soldier collapsed beside the boy, whispering something before going still. The boy held the man's hand, crying. For a moment, the pulse on the alien sphere trembled, flickering faster. Ilara whispered, "They felt it." Mason looked at her. "How can you know?" "Because the light changed. They're reacting emotionally. For the first time, they're feeling what we feel."
Outside the window?
The dark sphere glowed brighter, as if something alive inside it was waking up. Then, a deep sound rolled through space, a low vibration that shook every panel on Helios 9. The screens filled with alien symbols again, rearranging rapidly into words. "You hurt, yet you heal." Reeves stared at the glowing message, speechless. Mason whispered, "They're starting to understand." But before hope could take hold, another message appeared below it. Variable response detected. More data required. With that, everything on Earth went dark. Entire continents lost power at once. Satellites shut down. Communication collapsed completely. The planet was swallowed by a silent, starless night. Helios-9 drifted helplessly above the dark. Earth. The crew watched in horror as faint golden lights began appearing across the surface. One by one, cities started to glow again, not with electricity, but with pure energy pulsing from the ground, like veins of light across the planet. Mason said softly, "It's beautiful." "And terrifying." Ilara turned to him. "They're not destroying us. They're forcing us to face ourselves. To see what we do when everything we know is gone." Reeves leaned forward. "And if they don't like what they see?" Ilara met his eyes. "Then humanity fails its own test." The commander looked out at the alien sphere again, his voice low. "If that's the case, Doctor, we'd better give them something worth learning." As they watched, the sphere began to shift once more. Its shape stretched, revealing something inside a vast structure glowing with threads of light. "Like a neural network," Mason whispered. "It's alive," Ilara nodded slowly. "And it's listening." Down below, humanity fought through the endless night, not with weapons, but with unity. In the darkness, people lit fires and lanterns, their small lights shining like stars on the ground. For the first time, the aliens saw what they had never understood before, the unbreakable spirit that refused to surrender. Even when all hope seemed lost, the test wasn't ending. It was only reaching its true beginning. The dark sphere hung above the earth like a silent god. For days it had watched in perfect stillness, absorbing every scream, every act of kindness, every heartbeat. But now, something was changing inside it. Patterns of light moved across its surface like veins of thought. From orbit, it no longer looked cold or lifeless. It looked awake. Inside Helios 9, Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the viewport, unable to look away. "It's preparing to open," she whispered. Commander Reeves tightened his grip on the control rail. "How can you know that?" "Because it's pulsing," Ilara said. "Just like before the first contact. It's calling us again." Before anyone could respond, the ship's comm system came alive. The alien voice returned, deeper now, layered with faint echoes. "Observation phase complete. Next stage, direct interaction." Mason turned pale. "Direct interaction? You mean contact?" The lights on the station dimmed, and the emergency systems kicked in automatically. A new energy reading appeared on the scanner's massive, approaching fast. It wasn't a missile or a beam. It was a smaller object, breaking away from the main sphere and heading straight toward them. Reeves shouted, "Brace for impact." But there was no collision. The object slowed just outside their window and hovered their perfect sphere of blue-white light, almost transparent. It pulsed softly, each rhythm matching Alara's own heartbeat. She felt it before she heard it, a whisper in her mind. "Lara," her eyes widened. "It knows my name." Reeves stared at her. "How?" "It's been inside our systems for days. It's been inside our dreams." The light flickered once, then released a thin beam that touched the glass of the station. The metal around it didn't melt, shimmered. The air grew still. A strange wave of energy passed through every living thing aboard Helios 9. The crew gasped. Alara felt a rush of memories, not her own flashes of stars, worlds without life, endless searching. Loneliness deeper than any human mind could imagine. Then the voice came again. Clearer this time, speaking directly into her thoughts. "We are called the Observers. We have watched countless species rise and vanish. None survive their own nature. Yet you resist." Alara spoke aloud, even though she knew it didn't need sound to hear her. "You mean we fight against our flaws?" "Flaws?" the voice repeated. "You destroy your world, yet protect each other. You create weapons, yet build art. You love, even when love causes pain." "Explain," she swallowed. "Because that's what makes us human. We're not perfect, but we try. Even when we fail, we try again." The sphere pulsed brighter, trying without reason, pain without escape. Why continue? Alara looked at the others. Mason was staring, wide-eyed. Reeves stood frozen, gripping the rail as if afraid to move. "Because we believe tomorrow can be better," she said. "Because every life, even one, matters." For a long moment, there was silence. Then the light expanded. For a second, it engulfed the entire station. When it faded, the crew found themselves standing in a place that wasn't the ship at all. They were surrounded by infinite light, no walls. No floor, just space glowing softly around them. Shapes appeared, tall figures made of energy, shifting between colors and forms. They weren't solid, but their presence was powerful, ancient. "Intelligent," Mason whispered. "We're inside their ship." Alara took a slow breath. "No, they brought us into their world." One of the beings stepped forward, its voice echoing inside their minds. "We gather knowledge of all sentient kinds. Yet none mirror your paradox. You feel sorrow. And still you hope. You fall. And still you rise." "How?" Alara met its glowing eyes. "Because hope isn't logic. It's choice. And it's what keeps us alive." The being's light shifted to a deep blue like calm water. "Show us." Suddenly, images formed around them, human memories projected into the air. They saw people running into burning buildings to save others. Parents sacrificing for their children. Soldiers carrying wounded enemies to safety. Doctors holding dying patients' hands. Artists painting in ruins. Laughter in the middle of war. The aliens watched every image in silence. One of them trembled, its light flickering as if trying to process what it saw. "You endure pain willingly," it said. "You create beauty from suffering." Lara nodded. "That's the human spirit." Another voice spoke softer, almost like a whisper. "We do not understand compassion." Alara took a step forward. "Then feel it." The beings looked at her in confusion. She reached out, her hand glowing faintly as the energy of the place wrapped around her. She touched the nearest being's light. For a moment she felt its mind cold, logical, vast. Then warmth began to spread between them. The alien gasped, not with breath, but with energy. Its color changed again, flashing gold and silver. Through their shared connection, Alara felt it begin to feel pain, fear, love, and for the first time, it cried not with tears. But with soundless light, the rest of the beings moved closer, surrounding her. The entire place pulsed brighter and brighter until it was blinding. Mason shielded his eyes. "Alara, what's happening?" She smiled faintly through the glow. "They're learning what it means to be alive." Then everything went white. When the light faded, Alara and the others were back aboard Helios 9. The smaller sphere of light outside was gone. The dark mothership above Earth had changed, no longer looked solid black. Its surface shimmered with colors like dawn breaking after a long night. Reeves looked at Alara, speechless. "What did you do?" She exhaled slowly. "I showed them what it feels like to be human." Outside the window, the alien sphere sent out one last pulse, soft, gentle, almost like gratitude. Across Earth, lights began to return. Cities powered on. People looked to the sky and saw the great black sphere glowing in colors they had never seen before living. Colors that moved like emotion itself. The observers had finally begun to understand. But deep in Alara's mind, the voice whispered one last message before fading. "We see now. But what you feel changes everything." She didn't yet understand what that meant. But she knew the test wasn't over. It had only just become personal. The alien sphere above, Earth shimmered like a sunrise trapped in the void of space. Its once dark surface now glowed with color ripples of gold, blue, and white spreading across it like waves of thought. From below, billions of people stared in silence. For the first time since it appeared, the object didn't feel like a threat. It felt alive inside the Helios 9 station. The crew moved carefully through the aftermath of what they had just witnessed. Some were silent, some whispered prayers, and some simply stared at the screens. Every system had come back online power, communication, navigation, yet everything felt different. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was expectant. Dr. Alara Voss stood alone at the viewing deck, her reflection shimmering faintly against the window. The alien voice still echoed inside her mind like a fading song. "What you feel changes everything." She didn't know whether it was a warning or a promise. Mason entered quietly. "You haven't moved for an hour," he said gently. She didn't look at him. "I'm trying to understand what they meant." "They felt what we feel. That's new. That changes them. And maybe us." Before they could say more, the main comm system crackled to life. Commander Reeves' voice came through, low and urgent. "Alara, Mason, get to the lab. Now." They hurried through the corridor. When they entered the lab, they saw Reeves standing near the main console. Staring at a live feed from Earth, the image was strange cities, glowing brighter than normal. Not from electricity, but from faint, golden light rising from the ground. "What's happening?" Mason asked. Reeves turned to Alara. "You tell me." "The entire planet's glowing. Every major city. Every mountain range. It started after that thing changed color." Alara stepped closer, scanning the readings. "It's not radiation. It's energy, living energy. They're connecting to us again. Connecting." Reeves repeated sharply. "To what end?" Before she could answer, the image zoomed in on a coastal city. The light moved like mist, floating above people in the streets. Wherever it touched them, they stopped fighting, stopped running. Some smiled, others cried. The chaos of the past days was fading, replaced by calm. Mason whispered, "It's healing them." Alara nodded slowly. "They've seen enough destruction. Now they want to feel hope." But then, another feed appeared on a second monitor, one showing the other side of the world. There, the light wasn't calm. It was storm-like, swirling with violent energy. People were panicking, screaming. The alien energy there didn't soothe it, tore through streets, toppling towers. Reeves cursed under his breath. "So much for peace." Alara frowned. "No, this isn't them. It's a reaction. They're reflecting what we feel. Our emotions are feeding them. Hope creates harmony, but fear creates chaos." Mason's eyes widened. "Then they're learning through empathy. They're becoming us." The lights in the lab flickered again, and the voice returned clearer, softer, and now layered with something new, emotion, we feel. "Too much," it said. "Pain, love, fear, it divides. It consumes." Alara answered aloud. "It's part of being alive. You can't choose one without the other." "We wish to understand balance," the voice replied. "Show us." Without warning, a column of light enveloped the entire lab. Everything went white. The crew found themselves standing in the same glowing dimension as before, but this time wasn't empty. Around them were scenes from Earth's history moments frozen in light. A man landing on the moon. A child taking her first steps. A war-torn battlefield. A nurse comforting a dying soldier. Humanity's triumphs and tragedies stretched endlessly in all directions. The aliens appeared once more. Their forms brighter now, less cold. They moved slowly among the images, touching them, absorbing the memories. One stopped before a scene of a woman weeping beside a grave. Its voice trembled slightly. Why does grief exist? Ilara stepped closer. Because love exists. You can't lose something unless it mattered first. The being turned its glowing head toward her. Pain is proof of care. Yes, she said softly. It's what makes us human. The beings stood still for a long time. Then one of them reached out not toward her, but toward the image of Earth hanging far away in the light. We understand, it said. We do not wish to harm. We wish to give back. The space around them rippled. The images of war and destruction began to fade, replaced by scenes of peace oceans, glowing forests blooming again, cities shining like crystal under new light. The aliens' colors grew warmer, golden and blue like a sunrise. Ilara felt warmth spreading through her chest, a pulse that wasn't her own. The same rhythm echoed through the station, through the earth below. Then the voice spoke again, softer now. We see now. Humanity survives. Because it feels. Ilara's eyes filled with tears. You finally understand? But then, just as peace began to settle, the light dimmed. One of the beings faltered, flickering violently. The others turned in confusion. A harsh vibration filled the space. The images of Earth twisted and broke apart. Mason shouted, "What's happening?" The voice changed, broken, distorted. Conflict. Spreading. Division. Growing. Ilara's heart dropped. It's the fear again. Some humans don't understand what's happening. They're attacking each other. They think you're invading. The aliens' forms rippled, torn between harmony and chaos. Pain returned. Emotion unstable. Must. Choose. Ilara stepped forward desperately. Don't leave. Don't give up on us now. The space flashed white again and they were back on the station. Outside. The great alien sphere was flickering wildly between light and dark. It was struggling, absorbing human emotion faster than it could process, Reeves shouted. It's destabilizing. If that thing breaks apart, it could destroy half the planet. Ilara stared at the pulsing sphere, her voice trembling. They're feeling everything at once. Love, hate, fear, hope. It's too much. Mason grabbed her arm. Can we help them? She looked out the window, tears in her eyes. We already did. Now it's up to them to survive being human. Below, on Earth, humanity watched as the alien light covered the sky one final time, half brilliant gold, half deep shadow. The observers were fighting within themselves, caught between logic and emotion, peace and destruction, and the future of both worlds balanced on what they would choose next. The alien sphere above Earth burned like a divided sun. Half of it glowed with soft gold, warm and alive. The other half churned with black storms and blue lightning. Humanity stood still under its shadow of every city. Every person watching as the sky split between beauty and chaos. Inside the Helios 9 station, alarms screamed. Systems overloaded again and again. The ship trembled as shock waves of energy rippled through orbit. Commander Reeves gripped the control rail, shouting over the noise. We have to pull back. If that thing detonates, no. Ilara cut him off. Her eyes never left the viewport. If we leave now, everything ends. They're not attacking us, they're fighting themselves. The sphere pulsed once, sending a burst of energy that rattled the station. Mason stumbled but caught himself. Ilara, look at it. That's not a fight, it's a collapse. She shook her head. It's more than that. They're struggling to balance emotion and logic. Just like us. Another blast tore across the sky. Earth's magnetic field flickered like a dying flame. Across the world, communication lines went silent. Humanity held its breath. Inside Ilara's mind, the alien voice returned fragmented, weak, echoing with pain. We cannot contain it. So many emotions. So many contradictions. She closed her eyes. You just need to choose what to keep. We see love, hope, fear, hate, which is humanity. All of them, she whispered. That's what makes us real. The lights dimmed again. Mason shouted from the console, Ilara, the sphere's core is splitting. There's too much instability. If it ruptures, it'll rip the atmosphere apart. Reeves slammed a fist on the control board. Then we destroy it before it destroys us. No. Ilara turned sharply. That's exactly what they expect. We can't fight what's part of us. Her words made the room go quiet. Only the hum of the dying systems remained. She took a slow step forward, her voice trembling but firm. They don't need weapons. They need connection. Before anyone could stop her, Ilara pressed her hand to the ship's console and activated the neural interface link, the same one she had used to communicate before. Dr. Voss, what are you doing? Reeves barked, showing them balance, she said. A surge of energy blasted through her body. The light outside flared as her mind was pulled from her body once more. Swallowed by the same radiant void, she was back inside the alien consciousness, a storm of emotion and data, a billion thoughts colliding. Screams of energy, flashes of memory, wars, kindness, laughter. Destructional human feelings mixed together. The alien collective was collapsing under the weight of it all. Fractured voices echoed through the void. Love hurts. Pain destroys. Hope deceives. End it. Ilara floated in the chaos, glowing faintly. No, pain doesn't destroy it. Reminds you you're alive. Hope doesn't deceive it, gives meaning. You can't separate them. You must accept them. Her words rippled through the void like sound through water. Some parts of the alien light calmed, others raged. One voice broke through. Familiar, trembling. Ilara, teach us. She reached out mentally, focusing every emotion she could recall. The memories of her mother's laughter, the fear she felt on her first mission, the joy of discovery, the grief of loss, the courage to try again. She let them feel it all. Slowly, the storm began to change. The dark half of the sphere started to lighten, streaks of gold piercing through the shadow. The chaotic pulses began to sink into a steady rhythm like a heartbeat. Outside, on Earth, the golden light spread again, but this time evenly calm and warm. The sky glowed not with fear, but peace. Reeves watched in awe. What's happening? Mason smiled weakly. She's teaching them to be human. Inside the void, Ilara felt her body fading. The connection was too strong. Her energy was being absorbed into the collective. The voice returned soft, filled with emotion. You gave us understanding, but your mind will not survive this link. She smiled faintly. Then at least something good will. The light around her grew brighter and brighter until there was nothing left but silence. Moments later, on the Helios 9, the sensors showed a single reading. The sphere had stabilized. It was no longer a weapon or a storm, it was a massive radiant star. The crew watched as it began to drift slowly away from Earth, its glow reflecting off the oceans below. Humanity had been spared. Reeves stood quietly, staring at the light. She did it. Mason swallowed hard. Yeah, but she's gone. Then, just before the sphere vanished beyond the clouds, one final pulse of light reached the station. It washed through the hull like a whisper. And in that whisper, they heard her voice, calm, gentle, alive. They understand now. Because we showed them the human spirit. The light faded into the stars. On Earth, people looked up at the sky, feeling warmth touch their faces. Somewhere deep in their hearts, they knew they were no longer alone in that. Something out there now carried a piece of humanity with it. And as the alien star disappeared beyond sight, a quiet truth lingered in the hearts of all who had seen it. Humanity was finally understood.